All right, so for grade 12 term 1, so teachers would have received this. It's our annual teaching plans for this year, sort of a guide as to what to do in all the terms. Now, yeah, as I said, this is just a guide. So some of your teachers might not follow this or they might follow this, but it is maybe a good idea to sort of just see where we should be. You'll see most of term 1 is basically databases. Week 1, we should have started with database, the design and the concept of it. So characteristics of a good database, logging in and passwords. So this is basically all theory about databases and how databases work. Then the next one, then week 2 should be OOP, and then reinforcing programming skills. So what we're done, doing OOP, going through parameterized and non-parameterized constructors, the use of public and private attributes, accessor, mutator, auxiliary methods. And then week 3, carrying on with that, but doing the toString, correct instantiation of objects, the correct use of objects, and problem solving. So that's all OOP. Week 4, hardware, so just theory basically, plus start with PAT. Week 5, database design. So this is again theory on databases. Week 6, again characteristics of a good database, splitting tables, problems with databases. So this is again theory on databases. Last one, example of basic relationship enabled by utilization of key fields. Again, theory on databases. Carrying on with PAT. Then you should wrap up the term with SQLs, with the select SQLs. However, in this stage, this now includes the multi-tabled one. You'll remember, I know EHS, you already did multi-tabled in grade 11, but this is now actually where multi-tabled select comes in. And then mostly PAT with a little bit of theory, but it's the IoT. Do you guys, who knows what IoT stands for? Did any of you hear about it? Nice guess. But so this one is Internet of Things. So they love this abbreviation. So yeah, sort of know it. I think it will pop up in question papers and stuff. And it's very irritating if they talk about it and you don't know the abbreviation and then suddenly you must answer questions around it. So it's Internet of Things. And this whole chapter here that you're discussing is basically just talking about how internet has integrated into our everyday lives. So I think, I don't know how many of you've got like solar at your house. If you do have, most probably your dad will have like an app where you can look at how's the sun shining, how's the batteries going. It is our TVs nowadays, smart TVs. You get light bulbs that you can connect to your Wi-Fi. You actually get aircons that work with Wi-Fi. Where I hear of people in Johannesburg on the way home, they'll put the aircons on so that by the time they get home, the house is nice and cool. So everything nowadays are like, you get to, I love my what's this oven thingy, convection oven. I love a convection oven, and mine broke. And when I was looking, you get Wi-Fi enabled convection ovens. I mean, so that you can lie in bed, have a look at your food, put it on, put it warmer, like crazy way. Everything nowadays is actually connected with the internet. All the things that you can do and all our devices that's now just connected with the internet. I mean, even geysers. For me to try and save some electricity, I've got like a switch on my DB board where I can put my geyser on and off with my app, with my phone. So that is the Internet of Things. It's just like where everything starts getting connected. And then we're going to talk about like advantages and disadvantages of that. What is it good? Is it bad? Everything is starting being controlled by computers and the internet, that we can just do all those things. So that's that area. And then wrapping it up with pets. So that's your term 1. Suggest. I'm not going to go to term 2. You'll see term 2's got their own stuff. But that's term 1's idea of what should be. So it's, to summarize, it's sort of like all the theory around databases and then SQLs. all databases, and then OOP, just coming in here with PET, and a little bit of other theory, a little bit of hardware, a little bit of social implications. But majority databases, all the definitions around it, OOP, all the stuff around it, and social implications a little bit. All right, so this document, if you guys want, I'll make like a folder on our Google Classroom, and then I'll put all these documents in there, just so you don't need to know any of these things, but sometimes it's nice just to sort of have an idea of what's coming. So, but also just remember, this is just a guide. So if your teacher decides to do second term stuff, let's see what else, system technologies or whatever, in term 1, they can. This is just a guide for teachers. It's not a must follow. But generally it is a nice, and most teachers do follow this. So I will upload it for you guys. You can have a look if you want to. But yeah, just a guide. All right, so that's that one. Next one, your FET program. So this is what your teacher must do. So this is a good idea for you, what everything counts. So in term 1, there should be a practical test and theory test. Both of them should be around about out of 50. So this raw mark, that can change. That's a guide. So they can decide to make it out of 100 or out of, but it should be around about 50, most probably not less. Maybe a 45 could still go, but like a 40 or 30 won't be acceptable. But then even if they decide they want to make it like 100, they theoretically can. So the raw marks, not that important thing, but your term marks should be 50-50 between the two tests. And what it counts for your end of year mark is 6%. So sort of see it like that, that it's not that critical. So yes, so your theory test, 6% of your year mark, that's 6% of your year mark. Then in term 2, you should have another either test or task or something that needs to be done. That will also be 6%, so those are 18%. Then your exams, June exams, 20.5, 20.5, and trial exams, 20.5, 20.5. All these ones, we'll see they will all add up to 100%. So this 100% just counts 25% of your year mark. So this 6% is not actually, this is 6% of 25%. So these tests, bigger scheme of thing, counts like a 1%. So they really, for end of year mark, they're not important, but they give you a good guide as to where you are and if you're grasping the concepts or not. So if you do poorly in these tests, it's not something to be crying about, but it is something to just be worried about, saying, hey, okay, I need to focus on these things. I need to work a bit harder to get my knowledge where it needs to be. And then, yeah, your exams is the ones that will make most of this percentage. And then you'll see your end of year exams is 50%. And then, yes, the PAT. PAT all phases is 25%. So this makes up your 100% for like this matric results that everybody celebrated 2-3 weeks ago is this 100%. So everything you do during the term or during the year will be 25%. Your PAT's 25, and then your final exams is the other 50%. And that's how that is calculated. So again, this one is a good, this is what they need to submit. If so, it could again, Faria, Nolwandle, and then EHS, between the three schools, this could differ because personally, so we're going to, term 1, 2 test is good, term 2, 1 test is good, term 3, generally there's space for a test as well. And then if we do get a test in there, and no wonder is going to write that one. I'm not sure what EH is doing. I'm not sure what the online school is doing. But then we can choose the best 3 out of the 4. So if you see your school's got like an additional test, also try to study hard for it, because that one test could maybe replace one of the weaker ones. So that's also a nice thing to have, just to have that option of choosing the best. But then this is what needs to be submitted to the department that will make up your marks. All right, and then, okay, I've got the PET as well. So I want to start with this document. Just Um, I'm also going to upload for you guys. So I did just quickly highlight. So important things here. Our topic is the property market. So start thinking of a program that's got anything to do with houses or buildings. That could be from buying or selling houses. It could be the banking services giving home loans. It could be legal, like lawyers doing home transfers. It could be a tax program working out the tax for buying and selling. Water and electricity bills could be there. Insurance companies, security companies, property auctioneers, magazines to advertise properties, foreign property investors. So any type of program that's got something to do with houses or buildings is acceptable. And that's what you should start thinking. What type of program seems to pique your interest? I would advise, if like your last year's one, if you put a lot of effort into it and it's something similar to this, then you can just sort of adjust it. So let's say um, I don't know, you're selling computer parts. You can just change it to make it houses and stuff. So a lot of your last year's projects, if you put an effort in and you liked your project of last year, you could sort of tweak it a bit to just fall into this. Even if you restart it, but then you would have thought about a lot of things already and you would have realized what type of buttons do I need and what would be the flow of my program. So I would advise you start thinking around the houses and then what you think you could maybe want to do there. Then you'll see if you go to page 8 at the bottom. Important, you must have at least 3 forms or screens. So that is important. You must have 3 separate forms at least. 3 is very little actually. I would say 3 is like bare minimum. I could actually not think actually of doing a nice project with less than 5 screens. Because for me, screen 1 could be just signing in, just a login, username, password, see who signs in. Screen 2 could be like a choice list, like menu. Do you want to buy or sell or rent or whatever? And then depending on which option is chosen, you go to the 3 others. Because you will need to have a database. You'll see there you must have a database as well. So, and generally I think we'll just check now the restriction on that, but I think your database needs to have 3 tables. So that's why generally for me, I would think login screen, menu screen, and from menu to have 3 buttons to basically go to the 3 separate database tables you've got. And that's 5. So I want to say a lot of 5 is like minimum. A nice additional one I would have created is another one for the help screen that pops up every time help is clicked. So 6 is actually also a nice number to have. But start thinking about it, but yeah, don't reduce yourself to have less than 3 screens. You must have 3. Then if you want to read all of this stuff, you're welcome to. I never read it. I have never even read it because it gives you a guide if you want to, if you like bored and you want to just practice your reading for English. But this assessment tools. So EHS and the online school and myself, any department of education school, the teachers must use this rubric to mark the pads. They're not allowed to use their own one. They must use this one. So, and literally like this one, I'm going to skip the first one. Let's go to the second one. If you state the role, the activity, and limitations of at least 2 different types of users, and it's well documented, neat, and to the point, they must give you 4. So I know, especially for like this first part, in that descriptions on top, they mention some other stuff that's not here, but it's not for marks. So if you do it, well done. Are you going to get any marks for it? No. So literally, if you've got your topic clearly stated, a thorough description of the problem, if you describe a possible solution, and then a brief description of the scope of the project, if you do all 4 of those, you're going to get 4 marks. So I would 100% just go according to assessment tool. Make sure we do that. Obviously for no one compulsory and for the rest of you optional. This first phase one, these two, because it's very similar of what we did last year, and this will guide us through what our database or program will be about. Will probably be due in the very near future. No wonder we'll quickly discuss when it suits you best. I am thinking next week Friday as a good time, but if you say ish next week is a bit tough and full of other stuff, we can maybe think 1 week on. So, but I want to say, yeah. So if it's due on Friday, I don't actually expect you to work on it on Friday. You actually need to work on it before Friday because it's due the yeah. So no problem. So um, but yeah, I want us to just build on. So obviously this won't be a final one as well. And then obviously for EHS and online, you guys are welcome to submit yours as well, and I will have a look. I will even mark it for you as a guide, and then that could give you an idea of something that you can expect when your other teacher marks it. It might differ a bit, but then the most important thing with the PAT is just be open with your teacher. Ask him, hey, why did you take a mark off here? And then most of the time, you can just adjust that or just fix it so that you can get it. Because some of it is a little bit vague or open to interpretation. I mean, topic is clearly stated. For me, it can be clearly stated when you write it, but then for somebody else, they could still not be 100% sure what is meant there. So there are some room for interpretation, but generally it should give you a ballpark of where you are. Then the rest will build through. I'm just going to scan through the rest to just highlight some of the important things we need to have. Just to see, we said that you need to have a database. It needs to be normalized. We'll get to that when we do that. Then you'll see there you need a OOP because you need attributes. You need method types, return types, parameter, scope of methods. So you need to create your own methods. You need to have text files. All right, so we need to have a OOP. We need to have our own text files and an array. These advanced programming concepts, I will explain if you feel you want to go there. That is a little bit more difficult. That's when we do like arrays of objects. So it's a little bit more difficult. But if you need it, then we can look at it. You'll see then this one's just a nice flow of your program. The GUI design just says it needs to be nice. You must have helps. So keep that in mind. Appropriate components is important. Then input interfaces, at least two. So you need to have two. So either text files or keyboard. But that's just, I want to say you can't actually do your program without both of them. We need to validate 4 different data types. I will help you with that. So that's just to check that a string is a string and an int is an int and stuff like that. Processing should be relatively straightforward. Here we just do, we write down processes we're going to do. Here we talk about our outputs. Phase 2, you'll see you need to have at least 2 relational tables. So that's your important thing. So your database must have at least 2 tables. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about your project, that you do have that. All right, then the rest is not too important. We did say you must have text files, classes you know, advanced concepts you know, input processing output. These ones are also key. So I want to say with your database, remember you need to be able to sort the table. You must have a button that sorts the table, that searches through the table, inserts, deletes, edits, and then SQLs and stuff to do these things. So you must have buttons for all of these ones. So when you go to your phase 2, and you know this one where they said you must have 8 processing things. When you're doing this one, if you just jump ahead to here, here's already 8. So you can literally list these 8 of these ones there, and then you sort it, because then you have listed 8 you need to do, and they said you must do it. So it's not like you've got a choice, you must just do it. And then at the end, this is just like explaining your program to the teacher, give you that marks, and that gives you a marker of 150. So the pad's not that tough, but we need to build it on a bit. We're going to jump around a bit. We're going to do this first bit just so that we've got our topic sorted. And then I'm going to jump to the database itself, and then we'll jump back to these ones. With this one though, this plus minus 200 words, it says it there. But can you see by the marking rubric, is there any place here where I can penalize you if you gave me 800 words or if you gave me 50 words? It's not one of these stuff. And if I do all 4 of these, I get 4 out of 4. So don't worry too much. Every year there's a lot of students, hey, I've got too many words or too little words. This is a guide. So if you've got about 200 words, you're most probably on point. If you've got too little, maybe you forgot one of them and maybe something is not clear enough. And if you've got over 200 words, most probably you wasted some of your time. You explained something in too much depth, which we won't penalize you for, but it just meant you wasted some time, valuable time that you could have spent maybe sleeping or attending extra classes or something. But yeah.